guys, Anne-Marie here, and today we are going through a Spellbinders card kit. This is an old kit called Unicorn Dreams that I got on clearance for $27.50. That's the only way I buy these card kits because it's such an incredible value. And just to give you some context, I'm filming this during the Scrapbook Generation Retreat in September, so it's not my typical setup and it might be a little wobbly. And I'm recording the voiceover at home while my son is having a very intense gaming session with his friend that's out of town. So they only see each other online. And yeah, he's really into it. So this is the third time I've taped the intro and hopefully I can get through it this time. Yeah, so back to the kit. There are these incredible values, especially when you wait like I do and buy them on clearance. $27.50 and you get cardstock. You get cards and envelopes, adhesive. You get foil, like a metallic cardstock. You get a die cut pack that is jam packed and it has duplicates because they know, these are primarily for card makers. You get a die set, a stamp set, stickers, sequins, cut apart cards, all kinds of stuff. It usually varies from month to month, but the amount of stuff I think is pretty comparable. So especially on clearance for $27.50, I just can't get over like the value of this. I made 5 cards today. I was not stingy with supplies. And I have enough stuff to make several scrapbook pages and, a couple dozen more cards, I think. So yeah, it's a great value. Again, clearance. So go to their clearance section, and this is usually what I do. I'll go to their clearance section or I'll search kits, and then I'll do price ascending, like sort them by price ascending. So it'll sort them from lowest to highest, and then that way I can see the lowest price kits. And the lowest, I've seen them go lower than $27.50, but very rarely. It seems to be that they bottom out right around there. All right, so I'm going kind of for batch card making today. So first I'm going to go through and I'm going to choose 5 background papers. So I'm looking for something that definitely has a pattern, probably multicolored, more bright and contrasty for this, because the next layer I'm going to do, I'll look more for tone on tone or simple, because on top of that is going to go the focal image. So I can have a little more depth and interest with smaller multicolor high contrast patterns. So then I've trimmed those 6x6s down to fit my card fronts, A2 size. And now I'm going through and I'm looking for the tone on tone, more simple pieces that I'll use for mats. I'm not going to use that paint spatter one. I do think I just really wanted to use it, but it ended up, that's obviously too busy and contrasty. So I'm going to also pull some cardstock that I feel would work. And then I'm going to die cut those with a label shape that I have that will fit the card fronts. That right there. And then I'm going to make my final decisions. So I cut a bunch and then I just kind of played around with them until I liked them. And so those are my final choices. So now I'm going to start adding my focal images. I'm trying to go for like pretty quick and easy this round. So I'm relying pretty heavily on my die cut pack. And that heart background card, I wasn't paying attention when I wallpapered the background. So it's going to have to be a horizontal card because otherwise the hearts would be sideways and that would bug me. So, but I'm playing around with the idea of having another card horizontal as well, but they don't really have to be. Like those patterns read fine. The floral patterns, I feel like, read fine either horizontal or vertical. Again, so I'm just going through all my die cuts and pulling any that I think kind of go. And once I feel like I have enough to work with, I'm going to start focusing in on one card at a time. So I'm just going in and trimming the little nubs off that you get on some of the die cuts occasionally. And then I'm going to place the sentiments. All right, so I had to pop out a few little pieces on the interior of the letters as well. But there's my happy birthday sentiment. I'm going to pop dot it with some foam tape, including, I think I I popped the flower, and then I also popped the birthday. And then I'm setting those aside to embellish them a little bit more later. So now I'm moving on to this unicorn card that's going to be horizontal. And since I have a little extra kind of white space to play with on the right, I'm going to play with the positioning a little bit to break out of that label box. So I kind of like that, where the line of hearts is kind of leading the eye and the unicorn is out of the box a little bit. That, to me, that gives it a little motion, directs the eye a little bit. And I can't decide that, I want some sort of long element there, but I don't know if it's going to be the hearts or part of the sentiment. So I play around a little bit with it here. I really like that, but at the same time, rainbow. So I end up going with rainbow. So there's the kind of final elements glued down. And again, I'll come back to this to add the final embellishments. There I'm using a jewel picker that I got from Amazon, and man, I love that thing. All right, next card. Moving on to some rainbows. So this one kind of bugged me because that purplish pink in the rainbow was not like a perfect match to the pink cardstock that they included. And I kind of kept waffling back and forth on if it bothered me enough to not use it. So I was playing around with some other options there, like using the half spinner or the cake or something. But I did end up just going with it, trying to be okay with it. There is white, so I think that's like a white edge to it, and that helped. And then what really helped was bringing in that big scripty gold foil love, because it made that be the focal point. I think I was really struggling when the rainbow was the focal point because it seemed to compete. Okay, I included this shot just so you could see how crazy the foam tape was on the back. But hey, it worked. It did the trick. I used a different die set that I had with me to make little clouds for the rainbow. I was really missing my Fiskars cloud punches at that point, but I made it work. And then I'm just tucking in some more gold foil elements all around. And then it will be time to set this one aside, after I trim off the overhang, of course. All right, so for this one, it's got the unicorn background paper, so I decided I want to pull out the unicorn dies and play around with those. I didn't end up using all of the pieces, like the extra part for the nose and the neck, but I used other little tidbits. I just played with it until I liked how it looked. And of course, I lost some footage. Sorry about that, but all I did was take a sticker and mount it on foam tape. So that was the only other part that I did to that card. But of course, it cut it off where I lost part of this card too. So this one I ended up taking off the background that I thought I was going to use. And I used 2 layered 3x4 cards instead, and just layered the sentiment over it. I also die cut a few little flowers with the included dies and tucked them here or there. So now I'm going back and I'm doing the final touch embellishments. So I'm getting out my Wink of Stella and I'm touching up some little hearts randomly in the background. And then little accent pieces on the die cut itself, just adding glitter where I feel we need some glitter. It's fun to kind of look at these right now because we had my daughter's school had trunk or treat today, and her costume is a unicorn princess type costume. So I'm getting a lot of my unicorn sparkle rainbow fix today. It makes me want to do my manicure this week at all pastels, even though it's fall. All right, so now I just went in and I'm trimming out those tiny rhinestones and placing them with my paper piercer. And I decided I wanted to go ahead and trim off that extra little piece. So to make that card, it's almost a square now. but it just looked more balanced to me. And then it's time to move on to the next card. So on this one, I think it's this one that I went ham with the sequins. And I regret it a little bit now, but I don't know. It's probably fine. I just like to keep things simple, and this wasn't simple, but all right. So first I'm going in on the dark areas of the die cut, or the lighter areas, depending on kind of which feature I'm on. So like I did the dark on the flower, but the light on the leaf. And I'm going over those areas with my Wink of Stella. So we're adding some shimmer. There were two different kinds of sequins included with this. There's kind of a fluorescent pink and a more pastel pink. So I'm going through and I'm just adding the sequins and using my jewel picker to deal with glue mishaps and the like. It's the Ranger matte, multi-matte medium. So I know it's going to dry. It's going to look fine around there, but I still wanted to get off as much as I could. And then I'm kind of going back and putting a little extra on as I need it. Again, this jewel picker thing came in so handy. I'll try to remember to put a link down below. It will not be an affiliate link because I don't do those. I don't have a problem with those. I just don't have that enough of a following, or whatever, to even bother setting that up. But I'll try to link it just so you know where to get it. And then also adding a little scattering of the tiny rhinestones. I like to vary the size. So if I'm doing just rhinestones in the background, I'll try to do like a medium and a small, or a big, medium, small. And then with those sequins, they're kind of the big or the medium, and so I'm adding tiny rhinestones to contrast in size. So the love card, it has all that metallic foil, so I skipped the Wink of Stella on this one, and I just went for a few sequins. And the fluorescent sequins seemed to go well with that pink cardstock, so we went with it. So I'm making sure those sequins are kind of cemented where they're going to be, and then I'm going to add the tiny rhinestones all around again, kind of near those sequins to contrast in size. So we're back to the final two cards. And the unicorn die cut, I felt that was a pretty special, like that paper piercing was pretty special, so it didn't need much, just a scattering of bling. And I feel like I definitely went over parts of the main, oh yeah, there it is, with the Wink of Stella. The way the die cut's set up, it embosses kind of a hair texture into the mane. And so I'm just highlighting like one section that it embossed with the Wink of Stella. I'm going to go ahead and not cut this down just so you can see where I added it. I kind of looked at it as like if I were highlighting my hair, where would I want those little touches to be? I wouldn't want it to be all over. I'd want it to be scattered, but I'd still want it to kind of highlight at least one chunk in each section. So I just kind of kept going until I liked it and I felt it was good and random. And then I went on to the last card. So again, on this one, I felt like everything, I don't know, it filled up the card well. It was visually interesting. There was some depth with the layered cards. So I didn't feel like it needed a lot. And plus, it was the end, so I was getting a little tired. So I highlighted this unicorn's mane in a similar way. Just a few pieces here and there, a few chunks that I highlighted with the glitter. With that pretty scripty sentiment contrasting, with the stickers and the foil, and then the special touch of the tiny, tiny, tiny flower die cuts. I felt like it didn't need a lot. So I did add my usual bling, but beyond that, I didn't do too much. I did make sure to go in and put bling inside each of the flowers, little floral centers. So there wasn't a need for a lot scattered around because there was going to be a bunch around the sentiment. Although, of course, I couldn't resist adding a few. All right, so here are the final cards, and with some close-ups. Okay guys, thanks so much for watching, and I will see y'all next time. Bye.